If you listen real carefully, you might just hear 31% of engaged FPL managers hitting that wildcard button this week. Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are well and you're looking forward to game week 6. So many chips are in play right here, right now. There are lots of positives to a game week 6 wildcard. And in today's video, we're going to look at those positives and negatives, and we're going to compare my wildcard team to my actual team as well. So stay tuned for that. But first and foremost, if you're on a chip this week, I think it's probably a good play. Erling Haaland is a legit triple captaincy option. We'll do a triple captain video in a day's time. 24 hours time. Yeah, check that out on this channel very soon. That's the chip I think I'm using. Around 25% aren't using a chip, but 75% are. And 31% are on wildcard, 3 in every 10 managers. Now, why? Well, it's pretty obvious in terms of things like fixtures. It just works as a nice entry point for many. You can stack up on Arsenal players. They're right at the top of the ticker. We can see the ticker here from Fantasy Football Scout. Difficulty all the way through to game week 19. Arsenal are top. You can get Bournemouth players in. Many don't have a Bournemouth defender like a Senesi or a Petrovic in goal. Obviously, you chase Arsenal and you can reshuffle your premiums. Many on wildcard will be going no Salah to accommodate Erling Haaland. They'll also get a Bruno in, a Semenyo in. So there's loads of positives. The negatives would be, do you want to use it later in the season? Are there better swings? And is your team already fairly well set this game week without a wildcard? For many, that's not the case. But if you can get to Haaland without major surgery, I don't think there's need for a wildcard this week. That's where I'm at with my team. But I know most need surgery to get to Haaland, and I completely get it. So look, if you're on wildcard this week, let's have a look at what a wildcard team might look like, shall we? That ticker, by the way, we just saw was from Fantasy Football Scout. So if you want to know more from Scout, do check them out. There's a link in the description. I've been a member for years. It's an invaluable FPL resource, and I'll right at the top of the description have a link, special discount as well by going through that link. Right, if I was doing a wildcard this week, and by the way, there is still like a 10% chance I wildcard this week. It's a tempter for me. I love this team that I've put together. I'm not planning on wildcarding, but if I do, this team is very, very good. So look, let's kick us off, shall we, with the goalkeepers. I would be going David Raya as a very, very easy set and forget option. And obviously in Dubravka, we've actually got a 4 million playing goalkeeper. So you pick Dubravka, of course you do. But do you go for a Sanchez or a Sells? They were popular early this season. No. You go to a Donnarumma or a Raya. I would say Arsenal are a better defence than Man City long term. And therefore, triple Arsenal in this team, you're going to see. The fixtures are there. They're so good for clean sheets. Raya would be a very, very easy pick for me on wildcard. So look, he's in. Let's see the defenders now. Before we do, guys, I would love you to support this channel by liking and subscribing if you're new around here. Drop a comment as well. But yeah, if you're new around here, subscribe with that notification bell, and hopefully you enjoy the videos I put together, not just this week, but this season. Right, at the back, let's talk premiums. I think you go for the 2 best premiums in the game, and they are centre-backs. And this season, this is going to be a recurring theme. Because of defensive contribution points, centre-backs are going to get the love. Now, Virgil's had DEFCON a couple of times. Gabriel's had it once. Because they play for elite teams that have a lot of the ball, the centre-backs often aren't overly worked. Therefore, picking up DEFCON is harder for centre-backs of Liverpool and Arsenal than it will be of a middling team. That's not to say they don't win DEFCON, because if anyone goes up for these duels in the back lines of Liverpool and Arsenal, it's often these 2 guys. So they make the clearances, they win the headers, they make the tackles and the blocks. Also, they get clean sheets, they've got goal threat, and they get bonus points because they're so involved in play as well. So Virgil and Gabriel, I just spend the money on them. I think the value in defence this year has massively been boosted because of defensive contributions. So I would be going with both of them in what was a double up for Arsenal at the back with Raya and Virgil if you can afford him. Now, alongside him, let's go for those that actually get DEFCON pretty much in every game. Senesi, 100% record. He's 5 from 5. Only Tarkowski can compete with that. He's also 5 from 5. So 10 additional points for these players. It makes their floor in each game. It's not a 2-point floor. It feels like a 4-point floor most weeks. Now, Senesi's a no-brainer because of his price point. The fixtures are also really good for Bournemouth. Like when we see clean sheets for some of these fixtures, you look at Bournemouth right towards the top of the ticker there. Leeds, Fulham, Palace, Forest up in the next 4, like potentially 2-3 clean sheets. And probably gets DEFCON in all of them because that's just what he's been doing. Anderson has had DEFCON, I think, in all but one of his games. So again, an Anderson and Senesi rotate really well. If you rotate these 2, you always have a good fixture for like the next 10 game weeks. But you might start both in a back four most weeks. And then you look at the 4 million brigade this year, there's good value at Burnley, Esteve. There's great value at Leeds, Goodmanson and Rodon. I would argue the best value is Mukaele and Reinildo, although not so now because he's suspended, but even better than that, at Sunderland in Alderate. He's very, very physical and very good at DEFCON 2. And I think Sunderland are going to keep some clean sheets. Like we've seen that already. They're a good defence. They're going to cause problems with long throws and corners. And again, Alderate wins a lot. I like the Sunderland team, and I think they're better than people perhaps gave them credit for. And if you're going for a 4 million, I think they're the best bunch to go for. Mukiele is taking the long throws and also very good at in the air himself. So that's a defensive, quite well moneyed back four. There's no Chelsea assets. You could consider a 4.5 or 5 million Chalobah, 4.5 Tosin. There's no sexy fullbacks like a Daniel Munoz or a Dorgu. But I don't think the value is necessarily there. It's centre-backs this season. It is the season of the centre-back. You could go to Crystal Palace. There is no Lacroix. There is no Chris Richards or Mark Gahey. Richards and Gahey, 4.5 million, are great value. You could perhaps go for one of them instead of an Anderson, or you could downgrade a Gabriel or a Virgil. But Senesi would be an absolute lock, by the way. But I quite like the look of this back line. Let me know in the comments what you think to it, of course. I want your opinion on that. Let's talk midfielders, though, shall we? The expensive mids. Mo Salah does not feature in this team. And we'll talk about Salah in a minute. Let's talk about Salah now. It's the white elephant, isn't it? It's the big elephant. Not the white elephant. It's the elephant in the room. White elephant's like one of those World Cup stadiums that were built in a city that was never going to use it after that. Like, I don't know, there's loads of white elephants in South Africa off the back of the 2010 World Cup, for example. We divert. Mo Salah. When you look at the fixture ticker, I get why people feel okay going away from Salah. The fixtures are middling. Palace, Chelsea, Man United, Brentford, Villa, City, Forest. It's not the best run. I would argue, by the way, from Game Week 12, from Forest, West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds, Brighton, Tottenham, Wolves, Leeds again. That's an unbelievable run. Salah is going to be back in everyone's team in Game Week 11, 12. Do you want to go without him until then? I don't really want to. Remember, he goes off to AFCON at Game Week 16, by the way. I don't really want to chance it. I think there's a world in which you have Haaland and Salah. It's completely up to you if you're on wildcard, you go with one or the other. I think in my actual team, I'm very happy with going for both. On wildcard, I probably would have no Salah, but it would be a very difficult decision. Haaland's a must-have on wildcard. Salah isn't right here, right now, because of the fixtures and the form, if we're honest. But I would go Haaland, and I'm going to, on this wildcard draft, go without Salah. But that's part of the reason why I'm not wildcarding, because I've got both in my team and I'm actually happy I don't have to make that decision. And then if it goes wrong in 2 weeks' time in Game Week 7 or 8, I can then wildcard and maybe take Salah out. But for the time being, I'm playing him. I understand if you're on wildcard, the compromise of having Haaland and Salah means no Bruno and it means no Semenyo. And you can see in this team, I want Bruno and Semenyo if I'm on wildcard, and I guess you guys do too. So Bruno would be in. The fixtures are okay. It's a nice entry point because it's Brentford away, but then after that you get Sunderland at home and you get Brighton at home in 2 weeks' time as well. Although it must be said, Sunderland looking quite good. Semenyo's just a beast. His fixtures are right at the top of the ticker. He even got DEFCON at the weekend. On Sunday, we didn't expect that. He got the clean sheet point, the DEFCON point, and you're looking at a 6 point. You're looking at like a 5-6 pointer going, it feels like I got an assist. So fair play to Semenyo owners. They're absolutely laughing. He was the most transferred in player last week, and I'd absolutely go with him on wildcard. He's going up in value, by the way, every week now. I would then go with Ndai. Who's the best of the rest at Everton? And do you want an Everton attacker in your wildcard team? I would say, looking at the ticker, over to Game Week 19, it doesn't look great. They're like middle table. If you take the next 5 to 10 weeks, Everton have got really good fixtures and they'd be higher. The entry point of West Ham at home, Crystal Palace at home, really nice. Then it's City, but then it's Tottenham, Sunderland, Fulham, Man United. It's a great run for Everton. I would want them in my team. I'd be really, really big on one of those 3 attackers behind the 9. The 9 is rotating a lot. It's Barry, it's Beto, they're rotating minutes. But the 3 behind that, Grealish left and Dye right and Dewsbury Hall, they're all playing games. Some of them are playing 90. and Dye and Grealish even get DEFCON at times. Dewsbury Hall is the value pick. He's $1.5 million less. And if money's tight, he's a good pick. He's in my actual team. But if I'm a wild card, I'm probably going for the penalty taker in and Dye. More goal threat than Grealish, who's more assist threat. So those three in the midfield, they make no Salah a legit good option. Okay. I think we all probably agree with that. And then you're looking at a couple of budget midfielders. So where do you go? And obviously, the conversation of no Salah, we need to touch on Erling Haaland. Let's talk about him in a sec. But budget midfielders, I think Reinders punished the sellers. Guys, 350,000 sold Reinders last week and 1 million benched him. Madness. Like, he's playing at times as a second striker, like a number 10. At the very worst, a box-to-box number 8. Get him in your teams. He's the best value. I think he will become the best value midfielder in the game this season. And he even got DEFCON against Arsenal. You won't get that much, but a brilliant pick. He got a 9-pointer off an assist, bonus and DEFCON. He carries the ball so well. The entry point is Burnley. Whether you have Haaland or not, combine him with Reinders. And then Haaland's obviously a no-brainer. But Xhaka, I think the best of the 5 million brigade. He's had DEFCON 3 times. He's had a couple of assists. He takes set pieces. There are DEFCON beasts at 5 million, but they don't take corners. Xhaka does. They don't have goal threat. Xhaka has a little bit, certainly assist threat. So I'd go 5 million Xhaka. And then Erling Haaland, guys. This is why so many are wildcarding. These numbers, in terms of why are people using a chip this week, the reason 31% are wildcarding is for Erling Haaland. Those that are on free hit, the 3% are doing it to get Haaland, I've got no doubt. And the 40% that are on triple captain Haaland, not just triple captain Haaland. There are so many reasons to love Erling Haaland this week. Importantly, he has a week off. He ain't going to play against Huddersfield, right? So with that in mind, it makes triple captain so sexy, because when you look at the other key fixtures, and I'll do a triple captain video in a day's time, looking at all the other times you could triple captain a Salah or a Haaland, the fixture congestion is real. Like, oh, he's got Sunderland in couple of months' time. Yes, he plays Real Madrid 3 days before that. You don't want to triple captain him in a week where he's just come back from a European tie. This week, full week on the training ground / off, despite a bit of a back complaint against Arsenal. I'm fine with that. He's going to be fresh, and I think Burnley are a fixture you can attack. Many will say they'll park the bus, and of course they will. But it's game state dependent. Of course they could park the bus, it could be a 1-0 City win. But you've got to play the odds, and the odds are City will score in the first half. And if they do, the floodgates could open, and it could be a 4-0. And if it's a 4-0, Haaland's getting at least 2 returns, right? So that's where I'm at with Haaland. Obviously, you're wildcarding him in, and that is so the reason why so many are doing it. Now, let's talk about the other 2 slots up front, because these are maybe a little bit controversial. By the way, do check out my mini league if you're not already joined. Just scan the QR code, again, link in the description. Come join my FPL mini league. Prize for the winner, of course, mystery prize. And please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already today. I appreciate that. Thanks for all the love. Let's talk forwards, because I think everyone's going to have one of these guys. In fact, most are going to have both, but I think one is a little bit controversial, because Gyökeres has not been the Gyökeres we hoped we would get. However, it's got to be mentioned, he went and scored like big points against Leeds, and he might just be the flat track bully. When we look at the Arsenal fixtures, he's got the opportunity to be a flat track bully because the fixtures are so good. This is a fixtures play. I think he struggles in game week 6 versus Newcastle. I don't expect him to get anything, but from 7 onwards, he's got brace potential in West Ham, Fulham, Palace, Burnley, Sunderland. They're all brace potential games. So I think you absolutely should be going Gyökeres, the penalty taker for Arsenal, even if he's not a 90-minute man, even if he hasn't impressed in the big games, because I think he's going to be a flat track bully. That's a big currency in FPL. So you go Gyökeres, and then, of course, I think you go João Pedro, because I think he's been that good. And he's still cheap, right? You're spending 7.5 million on a João Pedro, and that feels, again, like a bit of a no-brainer. So, guys, this would be the wildcard team I would put together, but how does it compare to my actual team? Because I would argue the entry point for this wildcard isn't perhaps as good as it would be in game week 7, but we're going in game week 6, so many of you, to get Haaland, and that makes sense. But you could argue in game week 7, the triple Arsenal have West Ham at home. In game week 6, they go to Newcastle. You're going to bench your Arsenal players? Maybe. My team this week, with my free transfers made, I've bought Haaland in, I've bought for free. I've got Salah and Haaland in place. I've got players like Pedro Porro and Nico Williams, who I wouldn't have on wildcard, but actually got good fixtures, even Ollie Watkins. So I think I'm very happy with this setup for Game Week 6. Am I happy with it in Game Week 7? I'm moving forward. I'm not so sure. And maybe I'll wildcard in 7. But as things stand right here, right now, no wildcard from me. And I'll be hoping this team does well. I am, however, very, very likely triple captaining. So make sure you watch that video as to why you should triple captain. I think this week it's a great opportunity. And for those on free hit, we'll also do a free hit video as well this week. Thank you, as always, for watching. We will see you in the next.